Welcome to The Explainer. What's the first thing you did this morning? I bet you checked your phone. And I bet you opened an app. Well, today we're going to dive into the absolutely massive, multi-billion-dollar world that lives right there in your pocket. Okay, let's just start with a huge number. By 2025, the whole mobile app industry, it's projected to hit $673 times billion dollars. Now, to give you some perspective on that, that's more than the entire economy of countries like Sweden or Argentina. Just wow, all from the little icons on our screens. So why is that number so big? Well, it comes down to this: 5 hours. That's the average time we, you, me, everybody, spend glued to our phones every single day. I mean, think about it. That's a massive chunk of our waking lives. We're a captive audience, and that's where the money comes from. All right, so let's start by digging into what this $673 billion market actually looks like. The scale is just mind-boggling. You know, the numbers are just staggering when you look at them. Over 260 billion downloads a year. But here's the one that really gets me. 88% of our mobile time is spent inside an app. Let that sink in. We're not really browsing the web on our phones anymore, are we? We're living inside these little app ecosystems. Okay, let's talk about the foundation of this whole market. Because really, it's all built on a massive rivalry. A duel between two giants that control everything: Android and iOS. So if we're just talking about who has more users, well, it's not even a contest. Android is the undisputed king with a massive 70% of the global market. And that makes sense, right? It's the engine behind most of the phones in these huge expanding markets like India and Brazil. And this is where it gets really interesting. When you start following the money, the whole picture just flips on its head. Check this out. Even with way fewer users, Apple's iOS rakes in almost 60% of all the revenue. How is that possible? Simple. iOS users just spend more, a lot more. So you've got this really clear split in the app world, right? It's two totally different game plans. Android is all about sheer numbers, getting your app in front of as many people on the planet as possible. But iOS, that's where the money is. And for a developer, that's a huge decision. Do you go for reach or do you go for revenue?
Okay, so we've got the platforms down, but what are we actually doing on our phones? Let's break down the most popular types of apps we're all using.
This gives us a pretty amazing look at what's going on. I mean, gaming is obviously the king when it comes to making money. We're talking nearly half of all app revenue. But you can't ignore the other giants here. Social apps connect more than 5 billion of us. And e-commerce, quietly handling over $1 trillion in sales. It really shows you apps are woven into every single part of our lives now.
All right, which leads to the big question, doesn't it? If pretty much every app we download is free, how in the world is this industry worth hundreds of billions of dollars? Where's all that cash coming from?
Well, the money comes from 3 main places. First up, the biggest piece of the pie is in-app ads. No surprise there. Then you've got in-app purchases, buying more lives in a game or a cool new filter. But the one that's really exploding is subscriptions. It's the fastest growing chunk. Because, let's be honest, everything's a subscription now, right?
But it's not easy money, not at all. This quote kind of lays bare the brutal truth of the app business. It's all about keeping people around. Because getting that download, that's only the first step. The average app loses a mind-blowing 70% of its users in the first month. Just gone.
So where does the industry go from here? With so much competition and that crazy challenge of keeping users, they can't afford to stand still. Things are changing fast, and new tech is basically redefining what an app even is. And this is what the future is being built on. You've got AI making things super personal, learning what you like. AR and VR are creating these crazy immersive experiences. And of course, 5G is making everything faster. But honestly, the biggest thing to keep your eye on? The super app. One app that does it all. Messaging, payments, shopping, you name it. It's already huge in parts of Asia, and it's coming for the rest of us. So what's the big takeaway here? It's that the line between an app and, well, everything else is getting super blurry. We're shifting away from having a dozen different apps that each do one little thing. The whole concept is starting to feel a bit old-fashioned, The future seems to be about these all-in-one experiences, powered by AI that knows what you want before you do. And that really leaves us with one last big question to chew on. As these super smart, all-in-one apps take over, what does that actually mean for us, the users? Are we marching towards a future that's incredibly personalized and convenient? Or are we just handing over all the control to a handful of powerful tech companies? Definitely something to think about the next time you pick up your phone.